Reviewing gaming monitors is kind of tough for me. Not because they're particularly hard to review or anything, but because they, almost more than any other product I get to play around with, give me the most massive FOMO. The high refresh rates, crisp resolutions, and cool features I just don't have with the monitors I actually own are really hard to give up when I have to send them back, never to be seen again. And I never see them again because they're usually priced way outside of my budget. But the monitor we'll be taking a look at in this video is very different. ASUS TUF Gaming VG27WQ promised to deliver pretty much everything I could ever want from a gaming monitor and then some, and most importantly, do so at a shockingly affordable price. And if you do decide to pick up the monitor after this video, go ahead and use my Amazon affiliate link in the description down below if you want to help the channel out. Or if you're in South Africa, definitely grab it from Wootware, also linked down below because they rock. Now, where better to kick this review off than with my absolute favorite part of this gaming monitor, its price. The TUF Gaming VG27WQ only comes in at about $400 or 9,000 Rand at Wootware, which when paired with the specs we'll be taking a look at next, makes it a phenomenally attractive package. The VG27WQ is equipped with a 1500R curved, 27-inch 1440p VA panel that can be overclocked all the way up to 165 Hz. So pretty much every single spec I'm looking for my next monitor upgrade. But for those of you who want a different panel type and like your screens flat, ASUS is also selling IPS and TN models of like the same-ish monitor in the form of the VG27AQ and VG27BQ. The monitor also features a 1 millisecond response time, HDR functionality, adaptive sync, and a special little something ASUS calls extreme low motion blur. A little something that can potentially up the monitor's value proposition tremendously. But we'll dig much deeper into all of that in just a little bit. Now, I've worked with more than a few TUF gaming parts on this channel before, and they've earned themselves a reputation with me for being budget-friendly, performance-focused, and no-nonsense parts. And the VG27WQ falls perfectly in line with that. Design-wise, we're not really getting anything that's out of this world or super flashy. In fact, the base looks a little antiquated, kind of like a gamery cheese wedge with red trim, and the stand itself seems to be stuck in a weird limbo between trying too hard and not trying hard enough. Luckily, the rest of the monitor does a much better job of blending the gamer aesthetic with a much more modern and sleek look. The front of the monitor is almost uninterrupted, with minimal bezels along the top, left, and right sides, with a slightly larger bezel at the bottom displaying the ASUS logo and featuring an angled design to add some character into the mix. Speaking of character, the back of the monitor is where we find most of it. The back features some key gamer-focused design choices like angular cutouts, sharp corners, and circuitry designs etched into a matte black finish. But even though it's definitely a gamery design, it isn't obnoxious about it, and still manages to look clean and modern. Rather than screaming, "Gamer!" the monitor just calmly whispers it, and it really works well here. Sure, I would have liked the design of the monitor even more if it was either a little more gamery or a little less gamery, and you know, some glorious RGB lighting would have been dope too. But even without all that, it's still a monitor that should look great in 90% of setups. It's also built really well considering it's a mostly plastic design. This is a TUF gaming product after all, and it's definitely a sturdy boy. No part of this monitor felt overly cheap or flimsy in any way, and the matte surfaces make the whole thing feel premium. Which is important since you'll probably be touching the thing pretty dang often. The monitor features a wide range of motion, allowing for generous height, swivel, and tilt adjustments, all of which can be done effortlessly and smoothly. And you can even plop it onto a VESA mount if you need even more flexibility. And because we're dealing with a VA panel here, the display from any of those angles looks pretty great, even though the curve kind of blocks the side viewing a fair bit. Unfortunately, the monitor can't be flipped vertically, at least without a VESA mount, but that's not too big of a deal considering curved displays aren't really ideal for that anyway. Ports-wise, the VG27WQ is fine. We've got a DisplayPort 1.2, which is in a very awkward position and hard to get to, 2 HDMI 2.0 ports, and a headphone jack. And that's perfectly fine for most people, but where are my USB ports, ASUS? Where are they? USB pass-through is just one of those PC gamer luxuries that I'm a massive fan of, and not having even just one anywhere on the monitor, yeah, it's a bit of a bummer. But if I'm being totally honest here, if it did have that pass-through, my cable management would have been an even bigger mess than it already is. So maybe it's a good thing. And speaking of messes, while I appreciate the effort, ASUS, this monitor really didn't need built-in speakers. I can't really think of any scenario where a self-respecting gamer would want to use those 2-watt speakers. They just don't sound very good. And I think cutting them entirely and passing those savings on to the consumers would have been far more appreciated. What ASUS didn't cut down is the control panel on the back of the display, featuring 4 buttons and a little analog controller. A lot of monitors these days only use the little analog controller, and that's fine and all, but I still love that this monitor gives us more control with those 4 extra buttons, all of which are used to navigate the monitor's extensive list of tweakable features. Game Visual is the first of these features, and it's essentially a selection of presets tuned for various use cases and game genres. Each one is supposed to tweak settings to best match whatever you're doing on your monitor, and it works fine for the most part. I tend to prefer a one-size-fits-all kind of approach, so it was a little disappointing that there wasn't a normal preset in the bunch, but I just started off with the FPS preset, then tweaked brightness, contrast, saturation, and color temp to suit my personal preference, and that, amounted to the same thing. One preset I was particularly excited about was sRGB, and it did not disappoint. ASUS claims the panel covers 120% of the sRGB spectrum, and I believe it. With the preset applied, the panel was perfect for video editing, especially since I do a lot of color calibration and need colors to be represented as accurately as possible. And that's exactly what I got. I did experience some weird color quirks while using this preset, with certain colored icons and such blending together and not looking quite right, but after some manual color adjustments, those were ironed out pretty easily. Shadow Boost was another interesting feature to play around with, which ups the brightness of especially dark areas in-game while doing a pretty decent job of not overdoing it and taking away from the overall experience. One feature the esports enthusiasts among you will definitely appreciate is Game Plus, a hotkey that you can use to toggle your crosshair, timer, and FPS overlay right onto your game. It's not cheating, it's a feature. Oh, and it'll also help you with aligning multiple displays, which is pretty cool. Then we've also got some flicker-free tech, along with a comprehensive list of blue light filters to help reduce eye strain and discomfort that tends to happen after multiple hours of gaming. There's also a setting for HDR, which the monitor does support, but sort of, just barely. It is certified for Display HDR 400, which is indeed HDR, but the display really isn't bright enough at 400 nits to make a big difference, in my opinion, either in-game or while watching movies. But I'm not too sold on HDR anyway, and Windows really sucks at it, so it's not really a big deal to me. Now, with all that out of the way, it's time to shift focus to what really matters most here. Is the TUF Gaming VG27WQ as good as it looks on the spec sheet? Well, the short answer is a resounding yes. Oh, you're still here. Okay, well, let me elaborate a little then. The panel ASUS has stuck on this thing is phenomenal. It features the exact specs I'm looking for, those being 27-inch 1440p, above 144Hz refresh rate, and that 1500R curve is something I didn't know I wanted in my life, but now desperately do. Gaming on this thing was fantastic in every possible way. Story-driven games like Sekiro and Horizon Zero Dawn looked absolutely gorgeous, and thanks to that generous curve, wholly immersive too. And at the same time, my esports titles like Warzone and Apex were as responsive and buttery smooth as, butter. And as always when I review high refresh rate monitors, I definitely felt like I played better and got more kills than with my 60Hz monitor. And this was actually confirmed multiple times by the increase in Ws I was able to pick up. Nice. And while I didn't personally notice a huge difference between 144Hz and the monitor's max overclock of 165Hz, I'm sure the esports pros among you will definitely be able to appreciate it. Something I was actually able to notice a hell of a lot more is something that truly sets this monitor apart from others in its price range, and even from monitors hundreds or even thousands of dollars more expensive than it. And that's its implementation of extreme low motion blur tech, or Elmb for short. Hardware Canucks actually does a fantastic job of fully explaining and showcasing exactly how it works, and I'll link that video down below somewhere, so definitely go check that out if you want all the details. But the massively oversimplified explanation is that Elmb inserts black frames between normal frames by rapidly turning the backlight on and off, which then results in a huge reduction in motion blur, like almost to the point where it's eliminated entirely. It's some really cool tech. It's not really a new feature, of course, since we've seen similar tech under different names on quite a few other monitors, but what makes its implementation here so special and effective is that you can enable Elmb while also keeping adaptive sync on. Enabling tech like Elmb can often lead to an increase in in-game stuttering, and that's a trade-off you're kind of forced to make on other monitors with a feature like this. But that's not the case here. The VG27WQ lets you have your low motion blur cake and eat it too. And the result is awesome. The only real downside is that brightness will take a bit of a hit, considering the backlight is only really on half of the time. But when you get past that, which isn't really hard to do, the smoothness is kind of mind-blowing. After gaming with it on for a while, I turned the feature off and it felt like I had taken my glasses off. Obviously not quite as dramatic, but you get the point. Overall, I haven't been this impressed with a gaming monitor in a very, very long time. It looks good, it's packed with features that you'd normally only see on more expensive monitors, and at least one feature you don't see on pretty much any other monitor, has the specs to back up its performance claims, and does everything you want it to. And best of all, it packs all of this into a surprisingly reasonably priced package. And that last part especially makes all of the smaller issues I have with the monitor seem very trivial. Great job, ASUS. And great job, ASUS, for sending the monitor over for me to check out. Very big brain move. If you're thinking of picking up any of the monitors in this range, be sure to use my Amazon affiliate links down below. It costs you nothing, but it really helps the channel out. And if you're in South Africa, go grab them at Wootwear and help yourself out with their awesome service and support team. And you know the drill, if you liked the video, hit that button, get subscribed for more, and hit the stupid bell thing so you'll actually be notified when I upload. Yeah. Cheers.